My brother killed my mother. He did it in the shadow of the lighthouse. He did it in the dark, where you couldn't see the ivy twisting up the lighthouse bricks, where you couldn't see anything but the night and those things that wished to be seen within it. He split her open at the ribs. He shoveled her insides into his mouth, starting with her lungs before finishing with her heart. I know this because I watched him do it. Wesley smiled at me while he ate, the sweeping beam of the lighthouse casting his features in an ethereal glow. "I'm doing this for you, little brother," he rasped between mouthfuls. "I'm doing this for all of us. Someday, you'll understand." That was an eternity ago. 30 years, give or take, and I still don't understand. I doubt I ever will. I was only 3 years old at the time. What I was doing there with Wesley, how I even got there, I can't recall. It's a labyrinth of memories, a maze I've never stepped inside for fear of losing myself within it. All I know for certain is that Harriet found us, my sister. She wandered down from the cottage, calling our names for supper. I remember her lantern bobbing in the black, her light spilling across us, her look of nausea as she saw Wesley's blood-stained teeth and our mother's twitching limbs. The scream she loosed sent ravens flying from afar. Father came running. He appeared with a hatchet, and I think he would have taken Wesley's head if the bastard hadn't run. He tore off into the dark. He ran right into the phantom wood, that clutch of pines and oaks we were forbidden to enter. And that was the last time any of us ever saw him. "He's dead," Father told us. "The wood devoured him the same as he devoured her. If you ask my sister, she'll say it wasn't my fault. Harriet insists that there's nothing I could have done, that I was only 3 years old, and Wesley was 17. And if I'd so much as made a peep, he'd have killed me too. But Father insists differently. Or at least he did. He's dead now." Harriet found him strung up from a tree, hanging limply in the autumn sunset, his corpse dressed in hungry crows. 2 sticks jutted from his eyes. Sigils had been carved roughly into his cheeks. Pieces of him that belonged inside were spilled out onto the yellow grass, while his intestines wound a twisting trail toward the phantom wood. "I won't follow them," Harriet wrote in her letter. "The intestines, I mean. I know that's what it wants me to do, whatever killed him. I saw him speaking with the decrepit one recently, down by the creek. But you don't think that she could be involved, do you?" The implication sent a shiver across my spine. The decrepit one was a creature my family knew well, an ancient being that held vast, terrifying power. She had long sought control of our land, our lighthouse, and I hated to think of what she might do if she got that. But this didn't sound like her. The decrepit one cared little for theatrics. She took lives with ruthless efficiency, not ritual torment. This was different. Whatever had killed Father had done so with rehearsed cruelty, taking care to leave a spectacle behind. It wasn't murder. It was desecration. Father's corpse represented a message, but what that message was, I couldn't say. Harriet had her own thoughts. "It's an omen, Jasper. Even I know that. You can't run from this. You can't hide from it because we're tied to this land. Our blood belongs here." Tears pockmarked the page. Her writing became sloppy, haphazard, and hardly legible beneath the smudged ink. Father's words echoed in my mind. The last words he spoke to me. He told me that abandoning Gloomfall meant consequences far beyond our land, that the horrors our lighthouse kept at bay would begin to seep into the rest of the world, corrupting it, haunting it, eventually possessing it. "You want the truth?" The truth is that I'm afraid that whatever killed Dad is going to come back. And when it does, I'm not sure I can deal with it alone. I need you, Jasper. I've never asked you to come home, but I'm asking now. If only for a while. Think about it, would you? My eyes scanned the words. Once, twice, half a dozen times. Tears leaked down my cheeks, and I wiped them away, crumpling the letter in my fist. 10 years. 10 long years. I'd been gone, adjusting to normal life, forgetting my nightmares, moving past my guilt, and finding a slice of happiness. And now this. Harriet was calling me back. You gotta be kidding me. I seethed, pacing my bedroom. My mind raced for a reason to throw it in the trash, to forget I ever read it. I hated Gloomfall, the lighthouse, the wood, but what I hated most of all was that Harriet was right. Father's death was an omen. I knew that better than anyone. Omens belonged to me. Father called them a gift, but if he'd seen them, he'd know they were a curse. I'd seen things, always. As a boy, I saw our chickens stricken with disease long before the illness ever came. I saw storms before we ever felt the rain. I saw creatures, awful and twisted, picking apart travelers through the phantom wood, feasting on their bones and drinking deep of their blood. I saw all of it the same way I'd seen my brother eat my mother, a week before her heart ever touched his lips. Tragedy. That was all the omens were. They told stories of grief and pain, and I thought if I left Gloomfall, then maybe I could save my family their torment. Salvage what remained. I hoped that deep down, all of the terrible things we suffered were actually my fault. That I just took my omens and left. Then all of it would go away. Idiot, I said to the mirror, shaking my head. Nothing but wishful thinking, was it? I knew then that my life wasn't the sort of bad dream I got to wake up from. I never would. The lighthouse was calling to me, pulling at my mind, begging me to return to it. So I did. Like a whirlwind, I swept my keys from the counter and flew down the apartment steps. I couldn't stop and think. If I did, I might do the smart thing and reconsider. I might turn back. I flung open my car door, got inside, and twisted the key in the engine. It rumbled to life. My foot hit the gas pedal. I backed out of the driveway. Then I backed out of the city, my job, my happiness. I backed out of the only peace I'd ever known and hit the open road, driving toward hell on earth. I drove 1,000 miles. Then I drove 1,000 more. I drove on until the road turned to gravel, to dirt, until it ended in the heart of a forgotten forest. Only then did I hit the brakes. A knot of trees rose before me, their limbs twisting and interweaving as if to create an archway. From the branches hung red-orange leaves, swaying weakly with the cold breath of autumn. I gazed into that tangle of wood, that ocean of darkness so pure that even my headlights couldn't pierce its surface. My fingers trembled as I opened the car door, my knees nearly buckling as I took my first steps onto that ancient land. My breath fogged in front of me. Even here, on the outskirts, I felt fearing seeping into me. It infested me like insects, scurrying across my mind. Such was the magic of the phantom wood. I pulled my jacket tighter about myself, stalking around my car to the dull crunch of leaves. My fingers found the cold metal of the trunk. I opened it. Inside was a lantern along with a bag of letters. I'd written them hastily. They described things I was looking forward to, things I cherished. My father taught me a long time ago That safe passage through the phantom wood didn't come freely. You had to prove you deserved it. You needed to light your way with your will to live. I lit a letter aflame, stuffing it inside the lantern housing. It crackled. The paper curled as black smoke swam upward, providing me a dim glow. It wasn't much. It was hardly enough to see my own 2 feet, but it'd have to do. My only hope was I'd written enough letters to last me the trip. Gloomfall was hours away. If I had more time, I would have written a surplus. But I didn't. Truth was, I had no time at all. Like I said, omens belonged to me. I owned them. The night before Harriet's letter arrived, I'd been visited by a new omen, a fresh one in the form of a dream. In it, I saw a being, a vast creature with eyes of burning embers and long, crooked limbs. It sat perched above a body, a woman's. Her hair was the color of chestnuts, and her eyes were an ocean blue, but she had a head that was lying 6 feet from her corpse. A head that belonged to my sister. The wood was a blanket of darkness. Tall trees reached to the sky, their branches stealing the narrow shafts of moonlight. I navigated with my lantern alone. In it, I burned letters. I hoped I'd brought enough. But even now, a half hour into the journey, I felt my bag emptying faster than expected. Not good. My heart thrummed as I moved through the brush. There was a single path to Gloomfall, a narrow trail that was rarely traveled except by my family and those like us. It would lead me to the Lighthouse, to my sister, but only if I could find it.
"Lost,"
said a voice. I wheeled about, raising the lantern and squinting into the murky shadows. "Who's there?" Laughter met my ears, playful. A shape appeared, something bipedal and canine. A dog man. I drew back, pushing my lantern forward as if to prove a point. "This grants me safe passage. You can't harm me." More laughter. The dogman dropped onto all fours. It was the size of a small bear, and as it neared, I saw its long teeth gleaming in the lantern glow.
"You've safe passage, so long as you carry that. It'll run out before long."
It lifted a human-like hand to its teeth, picking at them with a black claw.
"I can wait."
Fucking hell. I didn't have any silver on me, which meant even if I could fight this thing, I couldn't kill it. I'd left before considering what I was walking into. Foolish. Stupid. Now I was paying the price. I squeezed the bag around my shoulder, crunching the letters beneath the fabric. There were fewer than I thought. "You're going to be waiting a while," I lied, trudging on. The dogman didn't answer. Its padded feet moved through the brush behind me, softly passing over dead leaves as it sniffed at the air. Sniffed at me. My palms clammed up, and I readjusted my grip on the lantern. How far did I have to go? Too far. I still hadn't found the damn path.
"You're right to be afraid,"
said the dogman. That so? I glanced over my shoulder, but I couldn't see it in the dim light. It was moving just beyond my vision. Out there, somewhere in the dark.
"Your old man was just the beginning,"
it said.
"Things are shifting here. Wheels are turning."
"You're a nameless haunt," I told it. "What would you know?" It snapped its jaws. I stumbled backward in surprise and nearly dropped my lantern. More laughter.
"And you're a fucking coward,"
it sneered.
"Nameless haunt or not, I'll have your heart in my teeth by the end of the hour. Bet on it."
I took a deep breath, fishing in my bag for a fresh letter to light. Probably sooner than that, I thought anxiously. Where the hell is this path? Wait. A sound up ahead. just beyond the brush. Running water. I fumbled forward, doing my best to keep my tripping on any errant roots. I parted a clutch of branches, and ahead I saw a winding creek, the same one I'd walked along 10 years previous. If I followed that, then it would take me back to my family's land and the safeguarding lighthouse that sat upon it. I smiled. My chances of survival just went from 0 to slim, and I considered that a welcome improvement.
She's next, you know,
the dogman said, rising up on its hind legs. It had to be 7 feet. It kept pace with me, its jaws salivating while its cold eyes buzzed with hungry anticipation.
Without your old man, the girl's as good as dead.
You are well informed for a haunt, I said, doing my best to salvage something from my situation. Something as well connected as you probably knows what killed my old man. I grit my teeth, telling myself to ignore its taunts. It wanted a rise out of me. The more emotional I got, the sloppier I became, and the more likely I'd be to drop the lantern. More laughter. Howling. The dogmen kicked up stones along the creek shore as it bounded around me, and I did my best to shield the lantern from any errant debris. If it knocked it out of my hand, even accidentally, the dogman would die. That was the law of the land. But I'd still be left without a lantern, and that meant other phantoms would have their fill of me before long. Something funny? I asked.
I've just forgotten how long you've been gone. 8 years. 10. You never met him, did you?
I frowned. Who? The dogman stepped in front of me, its eyes dangerous.
The stick man.
It whispered.
He's on his way to Gloomfall now. He'll be killing your sister while we speak, doing all sorts of things to her.
I searched his eyes, but I saw no hint of laughter behind them. No hint of a lie. He was telling the truth. Damn it! I bolted,